Jon Mendez here with another of our little how-tos. This one we're going to have a little chat about fenders. Now, fenders are really essential on a boat because if we get it slightly wrong and crash into something, hopefully they're going to dissipate the energy. On a day-to-day basis, we want them to gently protect our boat from the hard surface of either the marina or a harbour wall. And we can also use them to assist with leaving and entering a berth if we have a situation where we've got an engine not working correctly or the bow thruster's not working. We can use them to assist with pivoting. Now, where you position your fenders very much depends on the shape of your boat. So I'm just going to talk about the one we've got here. Ideally, you have enough fenders to do both sides, particularly when you're new to boating and you're, shall we say, getting used to it and not feeling as confident as you might do later on. So having enough fenders gives you not an air of invincibility, but the ability to have some slight errors and not have too much go wrong. Fenders are really only designed to work when the boat is pretty much stationary against what you're trying to fender it against. So if the boat's moving fore or aft, there's a good chance that the fenders will just rub against what you're trying to fend against and roll themselves out of position, and then you end up damaging the boat. So if you're using the fenders to aid with berthing, and in quite a lot of the meds you have to actually jam your boat between two others and the fenders are actually touching the other boats as you gently force your way in, you need to think about, I need minimum speed when I'm using the fenders, otherwise they'll pop out and cause damage. There's a couple of easy ways that you can attach your fenders. You can either do something called a clove hitch, which is relatively easy. It's, if you were on the boat itself, you'd be coming from the outside and then bring it round, cross it over, and you're going over in that direction and pulling through. And you'll know if you've got it right, as there's a little cross across the two leaps. And the nice thing about a clove hitch is it's very easy to tie, and it's relatively easy to adjust the line down or up to adjust the actual height of the fender. The disadvantage is if the fender's touching the water, gradually that will induce a little bit of slack and it will self-undo. So it's a great one for just popping on when you're coming into a marina or a berth. If you're going to leave the fender in that position, I put a little locking one on the bottom to stop it undoing. Now, you just saw me tie it on the wire. It's not ideal to leave fenders on the wires as it makes them sag over time and it wears the rope. So this boat has got nice little stanchion feet. So I would bring the fender up through the bottom of the stanchion foot, tie it off on the rail above, and then do my locking turn. And that would be superb for a long leave, no problem at all with that. The one thing you've got to think about though is anything raising up here is accentuating the weight. So if I was leaving the boat for a long time, I'd actually bring the rope around the foot of the stanchion and tie it off with something called a round turn and 2 half hitches. Now, it's nowhere as quick to adjust, but in the long term it's far more secure. And you can tie that on the rails as well as around the stanchion bases. So there's 2 other things that we have to think about. Placement, where do we put them on the boat, and height. So let's deal with height first. In an ideal world, if you know what you're coming up against, in this case a pontoon which moves with the boat, we want the fender about halfway up the object we're trying to fend. So that would be a bit low, that's down into the water. That would be a bit high, it could pop out. So roughly halfway up the fender. And then we'll do exactly the same thing. We'll do our clove hitch for a quick attachment. I'm happy with that. If I wasn't, I could go down a bit or up a bit and then lock it off. If I was going against a harbour wall or another boat, so like rafting, I'd want the fender up at this sort of height so it was giving much better protection. So I can just adjust it on my clove hitch nice and high. And I would be looking, if I was rafting or going onto a wall, with just a rounded shape of the fender above deck level. So I'm just giving that little bit of protection so the fender can just roll a little bit as the object is moving, if it's a boat, or as I move against the object if it's a wall. So we talked about height. The second part of placement is where along the boat do you want them? Now every boat's different because of the shear and the flare, which is the shape of the bow and how does it work. And a lot of modern boats now are having this very vertical stem, which makes a very interesting proposition, particularly when you're coming up to walls and things of that nature. And even coming into the dock, because it's very hard to fender. So what we need to think about is that where is the boat likely to touch the pontoon? So where the flare is here, this fender is possibly a bit small. We don't really want this bit to be touching at all, but if we're going to use a fender, that's a good place to start. You could have a bigger one, and I have a bigger one. I mean, this one is absolutely perfect in terms of size. I mean, what could be better? That would be absolutely spot on. The issue though is, where'd you stow it? So there's always a compromise in all these things. So the owner's got a decent sized one, not huge, but good enough. So that's fine. The other thing that's great with a ball fender is you can roll the boat against it. So you can push the boat against the pontoon to make an angle to reverse off. Really good if the old bow thruster gives out on you. So nice to have a ball fender. And then we're looking to place them just as the flare comes into the straight top sides. And then along the top sides, we've got a pair here. The flare on this boat, it continues, and that chine, so we have to be very careful. And then we have an area here which is really difficult to fender because there's nothing to tie it to. So a little bit awkward there. You might have a little fitting made so you could have a fender here, because the aft cleat position is a long way back. And if you don't get the boat far enough into the pontoon, this bit becomes vulnerable to a bit of damage. Now the aft fender we've just got on, I've just made a simple loop for it. And I like a simple loop because if things are going wrong and you need a roving fender in a hurry, untying clove hitches and round turns and 2/2 hitches is quite complicated. So just having the stern fender on a loop means you can swap sides if you want to change which side in you're going. You can grab it quickly if you need to actually fend against something, and it's always at the right height for the stern.